foramina we just did, so, right? Those are the ones for the cranial nerve 1, the olfactory nerve, to come back to the bulb of the brain. The optic canal or foramen is for the optic nerve, and that's this hole right here, the first hole at the back wall of the orbit. Okay. That's the optic foramen. Okay. And then behind that is the orbital fissure. This is actually, let me do this on a cat for a second because I don't want to get people confused. And with the Alice sphenoid canal makes things a little bit confusing. So there's the optic foramen on the cat. Okay. Then behind that is the orbital fissure. And the orbital fissure is for cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6, which are the eye muscle nerves, and also the first branch of the trigeminal nerve, the deep ophthalmic branch of the trigeminal. They all come out of there. All right. Then, behind the orbital fissure, there's a round hole right here. That's called the foramen rotundum, and that's for the maxillary branch of the trigeminal nerve. It's this little guy? Okay. And then behind that is a more oval hole, and that's the foramen ovale.
Ovale?
Yes. And that's for the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. Okay. Yeah? All right, cool. And internal acoustic meatus then is for cranial nerves 7 and 8, so the auditory nerves coming back to the brain out of the inner ear, but also the facial nerve runs out through there and runs into the temporal bone, and then it pops out again through that little hole, the stylomastoid foramen that sits right here. It comes out there, and then it runs down to all the facial muscles and such. All right. Then, so we're just kind of marching back the cranial nerves. We've gone all the way back to 8. Then we get to 9, 10, and 11, which would be the glossopharyngeal vagus and the spinal accessory nerves. And they all come out of a foramen. That's not a good place to show it. They come out of a foramen here, which would be, what was that?
Jugular.
The jugular foramen, exactly. And the jugular vein comes out through that same hole. So that's why it's called the jugular foramen. Okay. The internal jugular vein. And then last but not least, we have the hypoglossal foramen. And that one's a little bit tricky to find, actually. It's most easily seen from inside the skull. This is jugular. Here's the hypoglossal, and it actually pierces through the wall of the the foramen magnum from the inside, and it runs forward like that. So that's hypoglossal right there. You see that okay? And so you can see here where it pops out as on the outside, and it's a little bit hard to see that spot from the outside. Okay. Auditory or eustachian tube. So what is that? So yes, middle ear. It connects the middle ear cavity to your pharynx, the back of the mouth, basically. And if you look here, are we going to be able to do this? I hope so. I don't like that at all. Let's try. There we go. Okay. See where I've got the probe running here? You can see where it pops out right there? That is the auditory or eustachian tube. And so that's the connection between the pharynx and the middle ear cavity, right there. You can see where it's coming out right into the middle ear. Okay. Just to prove to you, I'm not making this up. That's what you use when you like go on a plane and you have to equalize the pressure in your ears with the, right? And you go you're actually forcing air back through that eustachian tube to equalize the pressure. And the lacrimal canal we already saw. So I'm going to stop there and